Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? It's Jeff. I hope you had a great 4th of July for some of you out there. Okay, I know it was pretty difficult, but you know, I going to my family, my uncle and my cousins and aunts, and you know that I went to yesterday. We had you know, a big meal out, you know, a picnic, okay? A big fucking picnic, whatever you want to call it, okay? That's what we had. We had lobster, steak, chicken, potato salad. We had the fucking works, okay, over at his place, all right? Everybody was there. And my aunt's sister was there, which I don't see very often. And she is a hardcore MAGA nut. Everybody else there was not. We were mostly Democrats. And of course, the subject of politics came up, as one would expect. And she just sat there, face getting red. Never said a fucking thing. She just sat there. And, you know, everybody was saying everything that was going wrong with everything with Trump and all that. She just sat there, face getting redder, not saying a fucking word, okay? Needless to say, she was the first one to leave, okay? She left right after she got done eating, and she just up and left. And my uncle laughed. And he said, yeah, she can't take it. She can't take it, you know? And her sister was like, yeah, well, she's always been right-wing, and, you know, and she's going on about her and everything. And I'm sitting here wondering, you know, look, if we're pissing her off, okay, and we're so wrong, then, you know, why did she sit there quietly and not say a thing? I mean, yeah, maybe she just doesn't want to start a family feud, which has happened already in many parts of our country here with different families. Maybe she just felt outnumbered, you know, 12-1. Okay, it's just you know, it was whatever, you know, I don't know, but she just sat there fuming. And I'm thinking, well, look, if there's anything we're saying here that you don't agree with or you think that isn't right, you know, say something. There's a tactful way to make your point. But you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, you know, maybe this is good for her to hear. Maybe she needs to hear these people and not say anything. Maybe it's more important that she listens, okay, and takes that with her when she went home last night, okay? Maybe that was important, more important than arguing the point that whatever she had, maybe she didn't have anything tangible, anything that was logical to offer back in response to what we were saying. Because certainly we were talking about things that could be proven easily, that we've been following, all of us. I mean, it seems like everybody that was against Trump there at the dinner yesterday had all their facts. We've been watching shit. We've been paying attention. And if she's been, I don't know if she watches Fox, okay? Like I said, I don't know her very well, and I never saw her that often, okay? Barely recognized her when I saw her. But anyway, I don't know how much she's invested in keeping up with the news. All I know is she voted for Trump. Okay, which tells me that she's probably been digesting a lot of bullshit propaganda from Fox, okay? So if what she hears on Fox in her mind is accurate and factual, she could have easily said something. But I don't think, I don't think she really felt safe to utter anything. Not that we were going to beat the hell out of her, but I don't think she felt secure enough, I should say, to offer anything that she felt would counter our arguments. And I think what happened near yesterday with her is a microcosm, I think, of a lot of things happening with a lot of MAGA people across the nation. They are on the defensive here because those who oppose Trump have all the facts. We know what's going on, okay? We have the fucking facts. They don't. All they got is Fox News propaganda and faith that Trump's going to do the right thing. Okay, very poor reasons to get involved with someone politically. Very poor reasons. Okay, that's not enough. Okay, unless you're into this thing just to own the libs, which is whatever they think it is. Okay, this is what they do. But like I said, to me, I saw that, and I thought about it on the bigger scale. Like this, my aunt here, her sister, representing MAGA as a whole, kind of deer caught in the headlights sort of thing going on here. They're caught in the headlights. Okay, the truth is out there. They don't want to see it, and they look at it and they're like, oh, these people know what they're talking about, and I can't stop it. I can't counter it. I'm just going to leave. I can't take it. All right, which has been my position. Like, why bother with MAGA? Why talk to them? Because they cannot challenge you mentally to prove you wrong. They can't. They never can. We're playing chess. They play checkers. You can't come into this game only knowing how to play checkers. All right, you guys need to learn to play chess. And the fact is, they don't want to learn it. They want to come into this thing, with their two-dimensional views and their knee-jerk reactions, and it holds no water against people who actually know the issues, know the problems, and know the details of these things and why they happen. Okay, they don't want to deal with people that know that much about politics. It's too much for them to handle. Because look, people that are not that smart, okay, they're not going to deal with people or relate to people who are smart. They distance themselves from intelligent people. In fact, sometimes they get pissed off. Oh, he thinks he's so smart. You know what I'm saying? It becomes a bigot thing, you know what I'm saying? And they don't like that. They don't like dealing with people who can talk over their heads like that. So they disappear into their own little groups of, beer bellies and whatever the hell they got, okay? This is what they do. So, they only feel comfortable amongst their own because they don't have to worry about their minds being challenged. One person burps, the other one farts, the other one giggles. That's what they're about. Okay, and so the rest of us, we talk, we listen, we understand, we research. Okay, we do all these things that MAGA can't do. And that's what keeps them always at odds with us all the time. That's what pisses them off at every debate. Okay, because they come to the debates unprepared. And they don't know what they're talking about most of the time. And the debate ends up backpedaling in order to get them to catch up to what's going on. And they, say it's ridiculous. But I want to show a couple of clips here. I was going to do this whole thing recorded, but it was over 25 minutes long. It was too much of a video. So I want to just take a part of it from Ben Mysalis' show that he had about the disaster in Texas. Okay, I don't know how many of you have been watching that, but they had this huge flood, which isn't unusual for Texas. I live down there, and it doesn't have to be heavy rain sometimes in order for it to flood. The problem with Texas is it's flat. Okay, that state is just flat. And now, let me give you an example of why I say it's that way. My father used to work on oil rigs back in the late 70s, early 80s. Okay, and he used to drive tractor trailers they would bring out the air compressors that would go to those rigs. He worked for a company, Western Slope, I think is what the name of it was. I don't know if they even are still around. It was a small company, but he worked for this company, and they had to bring out those equipment. Whenever they moved the rig, they had to bring all the equipment in trucks. So I don't know why he asked, but he was during summer vacation, and I wasn't in school, and he asked if, well, you know, would you like to come with me? You know, I'm just a little kid. I was only like in 3rd grade. I was like, yeah, you don't want to take me. So we had to get up early, about 4:30 in the morning. We had to drive to the truck that he had to drive. So it was, you know, about a half an hour drive, because, you know, so we got there, got in his truck, friggin' old Mack truck, loud as hell. Christ, that fucking thing was loud. You couldn't even hear the radio. Anyway, got in that truck and we drove, and it was early. It was, you know, not dark, but you could see, you know, just a glimmer of the sun beginning to rise, okay? And in that, but you know, in that distance, you could see a little light. It almost looked like a star on the ground. And my dad said, that's the rig we got to go to. I figured, well, it must be close. We could see the light. No. We drove almost 2 hours to get to that fucking light. And and I was like, Jesus Christ. And he was like, God, this state is so flat you could see things miles away, you know? And so, yeah, Texas is a very flat state, you know, and we lived in Central Texas. You know, we lived in Central Texas. And the rig we was going to was also down there, okay? So it wasn't in the northern part of the state. It was way in the center, which is, you know, pretty rustic. But whenever it would rain, it didn't have to rain long and hard. It would rain enough where, you know, even where we lived, you know, you'd have water everywhere, big puddles and shit like that all over the place, okay? There was even in the city, there was, well, not a city, we lived in a town. In the town, they had, went right down the center of the town, there was a gutter, like a big gully, you know, that just dipped. And the water, if it got, you know, really high, would go down in there and it would flow like a river for a while, and then it would dry up and it would just be empty. But we had that. And we used to, you know, our cars, we'd go down in there and come out the other side, you know, because they had a road to go through there. But when it was full of water, nobody would go down that way. They'd have to go all the way around. But that state is so flat that it's fucking, you know, it's like that everywhere. Okay, so it floods quickly and it floods easily. The ground can't soak up that water. It's as hard as, you know, that the ground is very hard there, so the water can't really have time to soak into it. So it just builds up right on top and it floods. Well, we had this going on down there yesterday. I was watching it while we were having our 4th of July sort of gathering here. We had that going on down there. It was pretty bad. At the time, they counted, they had about 20-something people dead in the flood. Now it's up to like 30-something people. It could be higher than that now, but they've lost a lot of people already down there. And they had a press conference with Kristi Noem. And before I show you this first clip here, I just want to say that they had cut funding to the system, you know, the meteorologist system that predicts, you know, weather, shows where it's going and all that. You know, when you watch the fucking news and you get the weather report, okay, that's what I'm talking about. Trump, Doge, whatever, they cut the funding for that almost by half. And you had some weathermen on the TV saying, you know, I don't know if I can accurately report the news as well as I could before because we don't have the same means as we did because of the cuts, because of those people who lost their jobs. It's going to be harder now for us to have any degree of accuracy on where storms are going to be and how severe they're going to be. So with that in mind, they had this storm in Texas, and because they cut out of out of NOAA, which they call it, the $1.6 billion. That was like a 25 to 30% cut from NOAA. Okay, that's what they did. Plus, they lost 600 National Weather Service officials due to layoffs and retirements. Okay. And Kristi Noem was saying that Trump was going to upgrade that system. Well, you don't upgrade a system by slashing budgets, okay? And because he did that, and now it's showing that it's not working right or something like that, this is not this is not the way you handle this problem, okay? You don't break something and then say, I'm going to upgrade it, and then put it back together and say, see, I fixed it. And all you did was put it back the way it was. Because that's what he's trying to do. He breaks something, right? And then he says, well, I'm going to modify it. I'm going to upgrade this thing. And then he puts it all back together, and then he turns, like, you know, puts it back on. And then he says, see, it's better. I got it fixed now. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, it works so much better, when they're really looking at what it was before he cut the budget. Okay, so it's like he's trying to claim some kind of accomplishment over something he did not accomplish. He just broke something, fixed it, and put it back together in the same way it was before. And then he claims he modified it, okay? He said, the stuff they had was ancient. Bullshit. Let me tell you something. They upgrade that system every fucking year, okay? They're always looking to upgrade that. That's why do you think they have a budget? In that budget, it lays out the money they need to continually update and upgrade the system every single fucking year. There's nothing ancient about the meteorologist system that they use, okay? It's using the highest technological advancements that are known to science. At least it was before Trump got in there. We had all the satellites, we had all the instrumentation, all the computers. I mean, you couldn't predict the weather any better than we could. But Trump says, oh, it's ancient technology, like he fucking knows, right? Like, no, they weren't like those reel-to-reel computers that you grew up with when you was a kid, Trump. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, here's this first clip. I want you to watch that.
Why was the National Weather Service not pinging their phones before 7 o'clock the day of 4th of July? The federal people can answer that maybe for us. I got an update at 7 o'clock. First one I heard. And I've heard updates throughout the week, but not before 7 o'clock in the morning. Wasn't that a fundamental failure of the federal government's responsibility to keep us safe?
Well, you know, my background is before I was in the secretary position here under the Trump administration, I was governor of South Dakota and served in Congress for 8 years before I was governor. And so I will tell you that for decades, for years, everybody knows that the weather is extremely difficult to predict, but also that the National Weather Service over the years at times has done well. And at times we have all wanted more time and more warning and more alerts and more notification. That is something, and one of the reasons that when President Trump took office, that he said he wanted to fix, and is currently upgrading the technology. And the National Weather Service has indicated that with that and NOAA, that we needed to renew this ancient system that has been left in place with the federal government for many, many years. And that is the reforms that are ongoing there. The timeline that I have, I don't oversee the National Weather Service. That's not under my department, but the timeline that I did receive from them was that the notifications started to look at its expansion for its limited flood impact area that started on July 3rd at 1:18 p.m. The flood watch was issued. Although it was moderate, it wasn't to the extremes that it was, that when the system came over the area that it stalled, it was much more water, much like I think we experienced during Harvey, the same type of system that was unpredictable in the way that it reacted and the way that it stopped right here and dumped unprecedented amounts of rain that caused a flooding event like this. They continued to elevate and up their notifications. when your notification hit your phone, sir, I'm sorry, I can't speak to when that is, but I do carry your concerns back to the federal government and to President Trump, and we will do all we can to fix those kinds of things that may have felt like a failure to you and to your community members. But we know that everybody wants more warning time, and that's why we're working to upgrade the technologies that have been neglected by far too long, to make sure that families have as much advanced notice as possible.
Recently admitted, I don't know whether she was allowed to say this or not, but she admitted that she took money from FEMA to build Alligator Alcatraz. She took money out of FEMA to do this. Like I said, these people, they count on folks like me and you not to look them up, not to fact check their shit, okay? They want to get rid of FEMA, okay? She said in an interview, I guess, that FEMA was a disaster in the way they deal with natural disasters, okay? And, quote, Trump is going to get rid of it as it is, unquote. Her and Trump have been looking to get rid of FEMA for a while, okay? And Trump has constantly been on the case on FEMA that, Americans deserve better. FEMA, my friends, has done an incredible job with the disasters that we've had in this country, okay? They've done the best they possibly could, and any organization could. When you're dealing with a natural disaster, there is no quick cleanup. There is no magical snap your fingers, everything's back to normal again the next day. Doesn't happen. Okay? No organization on earth could respond in that fashion. But no organization on earth has ever been able to outperform FEMA in their response to disasters, regardless of what Trump has said. Of course he's going to shit on FEMA, right? Because they want to get rid of it. Well, that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Okay? That's a tactic that is well known in Republican Party universe, okay? That's how they treat every problem. Cut it. Get rid of it. Don't try to fix it. Okay? Why bother? Just get rid of it and then make everybody suffer, okay? And instead of just the few you think are suffering, let's make everybody suffer. Let's get rid of the whole fucking thing. That's not the way. If there is a problem with FEMA, it's strong enough where you can fix it and it'll work better, right? If Trump has any ideas on how to make FEMA work better, why get rid of the organization, then have to have the added problem of trying to create something in its place? No, he wants to put the responsibility of disaster response on the backs of the state. Well, that's bad news for the red states because their money, they don't know where it goes most of the time. They mismanage it. Like Texas, how Greg Abbott's been dealing with things. They get money from the government to modify their electrical grid, and he spends it on something else. And then when it got really cold and the grid fails, the whole state goes black. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So, hey, the red states rely heavily on the government to come to their aid when things go wrong, and they can't do that if you get rid of it. So like I said, the logic behind Trump saying, or Kristi Noem saying that FEMA's got to go, is like saying, oh, we need to get rid of aircraft carriers in the Navy because they don't work. He just makes stuff up like that. What he's doing, folks, is simple. He wants to cut government spending and then turn around and give that excess to the wealthy. Shrink government down to the size, of a microwave and then throw it into the bathtub full of water. I mean, that's what he wants to do. And, he's been chipping away at things. Now, he says he wants to get rid of FEMA. I'm gonna bet everything I own he's going to manage to get rid of that whole organization. He will get rid of it. Okay? I'm not going to depend on the Democrats to stand in his way. He will get rid of it. If he says that's what he wants to do, it's going to happen. So, for people in America who are sitting there shaking their heads and clicking their tongues at what's going on in Texas, keep in mind, this is going to be nationwide eventually. When Trump destroys the only system we got to help respond to disasters around the country, he's going to take that away from us. And we're going to be left with areas of our country that are going to look like fucking like battle zones. That'll never get fixed. The people will be dead bodies everywhere. Okay, our country's going to look like shit because there won't be a FEMA around to help, you know, restore whatever is there, you know, or any organization at all. I mean, how are you going to clean up things? How are you going to rescue survivors? I mean, FEMA takes the forefront in these rescue operations, and you know, to help you know, people in trouble, you know, to set up shelters so people have a place to go. You know, it was needed for a reason. Can anyone go back and find out why did we create FEMA? Go back and read about that, because I think you're going to be surprised to find out what was going on before we had a FEMA. Okay, there was a real big need for an organization like that. We needed to have it because we get severe weather, and even way back before we even talked about global warming, we would get severe weather in parts of this country, and the states could not deal with that alone. They needed help from the government. It was too expensive. The state budgets could not afford the other things they had to take care of if they had to put big chunks of money aside for, well, we could have a tornado this year, or we could have a hurricane. You know, states like Florida and all them, they're not going to be able to stand up alone against these big disasters that always happen to them every year. So this other clip I have is, you know, Kristi Noem kind of saying that Texas is amazing and responding to disasters, and which is ridiculous and laughable because they have no history. With Greg Abbott as governor, they have they have failed royally in a lot of things here with that. So let's go to that clip.
The state of Texas is amazing in how it responds to disasters. Not every state is like that. Many states do not do what the people of Texas do. And you are an example to the nation of getting through these difficult times, but also know that you're not alone, that you have the entire country's hearts and are with you and are walking alongside you. And at the department, we will continue to bring more resources. We just, at the request of a previous conversation less than an hour ago, in visiting with him and with the governor, requested more fixed wing aircraft from Coast Guard to come and help us.
So for them, for Trump and Kristi Noem, this thing playing out in Texas, this disaster, is a political gold mine for them to justify further getting rid of FEMA. Okay, they're going to use that as an example, saying, "Oh, see, FEMA couldn't, you know, do anything." After they cut it, right? After they cut the guts out of FEMA already, they're going to sit there and blame FEMA for being slow to respond, and you know what I'm saying? It's the perfect time for them to come out against it. And you know, these people, there's like videos online of folks that are trapped in their homes with the house flooded with water, and they're asking for somebody to come get them in a boat or something like that. Okay, the flooding it's that bad, and so they're going to use these people to, you know, basically use them as like advertising tools, if you will, to make videos about, oh, we must get rid of FEMA, and then they'll show a clip of that. This is what they're going to do. This is how Trump plays us. Okay, he twists truth, he twists facts, and he creates a goddamn media circus. And so he builds up this shitstorm where it's inevitable, where things are going to happen that you don't want to see happen, but they're going to, because the emotion level about it is so high, it's going to be impossible to stamp it out. So like I said, I know he's going to get rid of FEMA, so expect that to happen. You know, like I said, I will bet everything I own on the fact that he'll do it, not because he's an accomplished person, but because he knows how to play us like a harp from hell. We're so gullible in this country to believe that fucking hoodwinker, okay, that it's sad. We're that stupid. We're a laughingstock around the world, you know, people. We really are. People can't believe how arrogant and stupid Americans are, that we had fallen for the biggest trickster in this country that would make P.T. Barnum blush. Okay, this guy should have worked in a circus. That's what he really should have done for himself, as been a circus leader, a circus orchestrator, because he knows how to get people's attention. He knows how to grab folks by the fucking ear and convince them of anything he wants. He's very tactful about that. And maybe in a way that makes him a good public speaker, okay, despite how stupid he sounds a lot of times. But sounding stupid is basically how you talk to Americans. You know, I know that sounds insulting, but think about the education level in this country and how a lot of people can't read above a 5th grade level. That means you know, what they understand has to be given to them in the simplest possible terms. All right? Which means you got to talk to them like little babies. And as a result, these people will respond to you like little babies. All right? All the, you know, like leaders like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they talk over most of Americans' heads because they're very intelligent. All right? People can't understand them. I remember I was talking to somebody who says, oh, whenever you hear Kamala Harris, that's word salad. That's because you can't understand what she's telling you, because it's above your pay grade. It's above your education level. Okay? That's why you think what she was saying was word salad. You can't follow her. You know? And that's the reason why you despised her. Plus, well, she's a woman and she's black. That was the other two things. But I think the fact that, you know, you guys, for whatever reason, wanted to watch her speeches, couldn't follow her because she spoke over your fucking education level. She's a fucking college graduate. Most of you people in MAGA are, you know, barely high school graduate. Some of you didn't dropped out. You know? Okay, so you're not gonna reach and connect with her in any fashion. But with Trump, he makes himself available to the stupid, because he loves stupid people, or the poorly educated, as he says. He loves that because, hey, it makes it easier for him to relate to you on that level, because, hey, you know, he might present himself as being somewhat intelligent because he ran some businesses which failed, okay? But I think he would prefer to just hang around with people that are really, you know, of his mindset, which he's a guy who thinks like, you know, a high schooler, even though he might have went to, you know, a college or two or something like that and barely passed. But, you know, he'd rather be hanging around with the lower end of the population, okay? The lower end of the people that are not as intelligent. I think he connects better with people like that. So, you know, this idea that, you know, they're gearing up to destroy FEMA, for what reason is simple. I mean, like I said, they want to take that money and hand that over to the wealthy as well. You know, the American people are always last on the list of getting our needs met. When he says I'm going to put America first, no. What he should say is, I'm going to put the wealthy first. Okay, the wealthy are going to come first in America. Everybody else, you know, you're not going to see shit. So I don't consider the super wealthy, the 20 people that might be billionaires in this country, to be American, because they certainly don't want to contribute to the American system, which is which you can't do anything in this country without money. You can't run a government without some kind of money, right? I mean, if you don't want to give money to the government, then why do you have one? How do you think it's going to run? On dirt? You think people are going to do their jobs in the government for free? You're crazy. You're fucking crazy. You know? You people scream you want services. Well, you can't have them if you're not going to pay people to do them. You want a fire department to put the fires out and, you know, that happen? Well, you got to pay for that. Your taxes, right? You want someone delivering your fucking packages when you order shit online? Well, you got to pay for that too. You know, whether it's through a private company or the post office, whatever, you still got to pay. You want some help when you get sick? Well, you're gonna have to pay for that too, unless you want a government system where, you know, your taxes, you know, they'll just take out of your taxes. Again, you're still paying for it, okay? But it would be less of an expense on you because the government would be picking up most of the tab in that system. You wouldn't have to see much of a bill, if any at all. You have to pay for these things. You can't just have that for free. So, like I said, you know, they want to live in their own little world of what the American dream is. The rest of us have been barred from it. Okay? We've been barred from it. And it could be permanent. I'm thinking it is. I told a friend of mine online that passing that bill the other day was the last nail in the coffin for the United States. And my friend wasn't sure if that was really the last nail, but I said, well, anything that happens after this now is just throwing dirt on the coffin now that it's in the hole. Okay? Because if we can't undo what was signed there, I mean, we're not going to have money enough to do anything to save the country. Say Trump is gone and we get a new president. Even if we get a new president, okay, that money's not going to be there. And he's going to have to find a way to undo those tax cuts in order to get that. Now, you think Trump had a fight to get the tax cuts put in. Imagine what it's going to be like to try to undo that. Without a majority, without the Democrats having a majority in both houses, that is going to be impossible. Okay? That's going to be impossible. Even if we get a new president. So, like I said, I think that, you know, as we continue forward here, we need to bear in mind how much work it's going to take to undo the damage. It's going to take twice as hard of a job to fix this stuff as it did to create the damage. Okay, so let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Swishing and a splashing over the horizon, what can it be? The pilgrims sailed the sea to find a place to call their own. In their ship Mayflower, they hoped to find a better home. They finally knocked on Plymouth Rock, and someone said, we're there. It may not look like home, but at this point I don't care. Oh, they were missing Mother England. They swore their loyalty until the very end. Anything you say, King, it's okay, King. You know it's kind of scary on your own. Gonna build a new land the way we planned. Could you help us run it till it's grown? They planted corn, you know, they built their houses one by one. And bit by bit they worked until the colonies were done. They looked around, yeah, up and down, and someone said, hooray! If the king could only see us now, he would be proud of us today. They knew that now they'd run their own land. But George III still vowed he'd rule them to the end. Anything I say, do it my way now. Anything I say, do it my way. Don't you get to feeling independent, 'cause I'm gonna force you to obey. He taxed their property, he didn't give them any choice. And back in England, he didn't give them any voice. That's called taxation without representation, and it's not fair. But when the colonies complained, the king said, I don't care. He even has the nerve to tax our cup of tea. To put it kindly, King, we really don't agree. Gonna show you how we feel. We're gonna dump this tea and turn this harbor into the biggest cup of tea in history. They wanted no more mothering land. They knew the time had come for them to take command. It's very clear you're being unfair, King. No matter what you say, we won't obey. Gonna hold a revolution now, King, and we're gonna run it all away with no more king.
We're gonna elect a president.
No more king.
He's gonna do what the people want.
No more king.
We're gonna run things our way.
No more king.
Nobody's gonna tell us what to do.
Rocking and a rolling, splishing and a splashing over the horizon. What can it be? Looks like it's going to be
A free country.
How to use a pump to get bigger. Hi, I'm Clarissa from Our Doctor, and we're talking about pumps and the benefits of using male enlargement and enhancement vacuum pumps. The male enhancement pump is a very easy to use and effective medical grade device to help men achieve a fuller erection and reduce premature ejaculation. This digital and waterproof device can be issued without a doctor's prescription. How do you use one? It's quite easy. Simply insert your penis shaft into the pump tube, power it up, then choose your desired setting. You may feel a suction, which is a good thing. This is drawing blood into the penis vessels. This causes a swelling effect to give you temporary, more significant, and more complex erection results for up to 24 hours. Permanent results can be achieved with regular daily sessions just by using this pump. If you suffer from erectile dysfunction or are looking to increase your size, this pump is proven to work. Due to genetic or hormonal factors, men born with micropenis or a tiny penis should also consider this product. The reason why is because you have additional skin growth around your penis and it's buried. This condition is not uncommon. However, using a pump like this one or having an outpatient procedure done can resolve this issue. From the men who have used the pump, they'll say it's given them a quarter to a full inch in length after using it for about 5 to 10 minutes before their sexual encounter. Some men like to take either sildenafil or tadalafil in conjunction with this pump, so they can achieve even longer lasting results. If you have any questions about our products or services, you can check us out on our website or call us, and we have doctors and specialists that can answer any of your questions. Thanks for watching. Please like, follow, and subscribe, and post any questions you may have in the comments below. See you next time.
Stephen Miller designed it. Donald Trump demanded it. Kristi Noem and Holman ordered you to do it. Illegal deportations, mass raids, rounding up people who are here legally, arresting citizens, family separations, snatching students off the street for tweeting, detention without hearings, shipping them to foreign prisons, deportations defying court orders. When government agents like you abuse your power, when you trample civil and constitutional rights, you can be held personally liable in civil court. You can lose everything, and Trump can't pardon you. That includes ICE, that includes CBP, contractors, DOJ, even the White House. Yep, every last Trump official pulling the strings. Even, well, especially the lawyers. If you think you're safe behind badges and titles, you're wrong. You do a hard, dangerous job. You're vital to our security. But what they have you doing now isn't law enforcement. It's just lawless, and you'll pay the price for following illegal orders.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, there's this thing here I want to read to you from Daily Dose. GOP representative has been busted begging for help after fucking over his voters. One of the biggest assholes in a GOP caucus packed to the brim with them, Wisconsin Representative Derek Van Orden, sparked headlines this week after openly cheering on millions of people losing their health care with the passage of Trump's big awful bill. But his real feelings were exposed in an urgent letter he wrote to Democratic Governor Tony Evers, begging him to sign the state budget before the big beautiful bill passed in order to protect rural hospitals from some of the steep Medicaid cuts that are likely to be triggered by congressional Republicans' mega bill. All of these monsters knew exactly what they were voting for and did it anyway, and now they're terrified of the consequences. Well, you know, they are doing exactly what the voters did last year, okay? They pitched their fucking money, they hedged their bets that Trump was going to bring about a great, brave new day here in America, and once they got it, they find out that, oh, that's what a tariff is. And oh, he's not just going after illegal immigrants. And oh, he wants to cut Medicare. And oh, hospitals are going to close up because of it. You know, okay, you know, they're finding this out after the fact. That's what this guy here, this Van Orden, is doing. He went ahead and voted for this fucking thing because maybe they twisted his arm. I don't know what the details behind that are. Okay, it doesn't really matter. The fucking bill's passed now. But now he's worried because he knows what was in it and he knows what's going to happen, and he's begging the Democrats here to help him save face. And this is ridiculous. This kind of voting has to stop in this country. Okay, you people, you got to decide before the fact. You got to put your partisanship aside. You got to stop, you know, with this goddamn football esque type fucking shit that you guys do with politics. This isn't about rah 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 for the home team, no matter what the football players do when on their off time, you know. Okay, this is about reality. This is about fucking the whole country, okay? The whole country is involved in this. Rich people, poor people, everybody. And you come into this game voting like you're throwing passes to people and hoping they'll catch it, okay? And the balls you're throwing, you don't even know if they're really illegal, you know, footballs or something like that. You're just picking them up and throwing them, okay? And it's just ridiculous that these people, we got so many people in our government right now who just blindly jump into the swimming pool without checking to see if there's if the water's clean. They just do this shit all the time, and it's like, why are they doing it? Why is it so bad that they cannot think for themselves? That they're not allowed to think for themselves and do the right thing, that they have to wait until they get the okay from the Cheeto in the White House to tell them when to fucking vote and what way. That all these people just wait in the wings, and they know what's in that bill. They know it's a poison pill, that fucking bill. They know what's in it, but they want to keep their seat. They don't want to be primaried. They don't want to lose what they have, so they vote for it. All the while, they're out there pretending like they're all for this bill. But then they turn around and they vote for it, and then they quietly, or hoping nobody would find out, you know, begging that, oh, you know, do something about this, you know, okay, because it's gonna hurt us. Well, we can't help these people. We can't. Once you vote, it's like the election. Once you vote, you don't get do-overs. Okay? A lot of people were looking up after the election, can I change my vote? No, you can't. Once you vote and it's been counted, that's it. It's set in stone for all time. You only get one shot at it. That's it. There's no fucking redos. And so, for some reason, that attitude is in our government, thinking that, well, our votes are not final. They are final. I'm sorry to say, they are. Our system of government was made that way. And you should be responsible. One vote is all you need. I mean, you really should be smart enough to know where you stand, okay? What do you need in order to make a good decision, okay? The truth is, what you need is a little motivation. And that means doing some research, doing your homework, okay? Just because you graduated from whatever you graduated from does not mean that you no longer have to do any fucking homework. Life is homework, my friends, and it won't quit until you die. Your job as a human being is to constantly do homework. That's what it is. You have to be on top of the fucking ball, because the minute you turn your back from it, you know, and you close your eyes, okay, it's like you missed the school bus, you know. So, I'm sorry, but, you know, there is no do-overs. And so when you guys vote for things and then you worry after you vote, then you didn't vote the right way. You didn't do the homework. It's like taking a test and hoping you get an A even though you didn't study the night before. Why are you hoping for the A? If you didn't study, you failed probably. So, stop pretending. Stop trying to be stupid. You know, Christ. Now, a Fox guest did defamation live on air. Air Monica Page, the White House correspondent for the GOP's college indoctrination program, quote, Turning Point USA, unquote, baselessly accused Kilmar Abrego Garcia of, quote, killing Americans, unquote, and opened up a huge can of legal worms for herself and her organization. Well, that's not new. Fox is always in trouble for having somebody on there saying something and it backfires in their face. That's one of the reasons why I tell people, stop watching that fucking channel. It's poison. It's creating a mess in this country. It's fucking up your head. Okay? I would rather see you people watch non-stop porn, okay, than watch Fox News. I think Fox News is more damaging to the human psyche than any porn that you could watch on the internet. I really think that. Okay, I really think that, because what these people tell you on Fox News is so dangerous that they actually got people out there doing some pretty vile and dangerous, illegal things. And they're twisting the truth and the facts so that way it plays into certain political parties' hands and we end up with governments like this. When does pornography ever do anything like that? Okay? I'm sorry, but I think that, you know, when it comes down to what you want to make sure your kids ain't watching, I would rather see them watching porn than watching Fox News. Okay? You can take from that what you think of me. I don't care how you judge me on that. But the way I see things is pretty damn crystal clear. All right? That video games ain't doing that kind of damage. Pornography ain't doing that kind of damage. Watching violence in the movies ain't doing this kind of damage. But telling people lies, okay, and passing it off as, oh, we're telling the truth, okay, and manipulating others with those lies, that is more fucking dangerous than anything else that I just labeled here, okay? Okay, then this thing here says Texas officials blame agency gutted by Trump for results of deadly storm. I mean, they're like really tap dancing around saying Trump is responsible for what's happened here, okay? Scientists and weather officials were screaming from the rooftops that gutting the National Weather Service's funding would be utterly disastrous, but Trump and Elon did it anyway. And now the grim consequences are already taking their toll and lives lost. Severe flooding in Texas has already killed over 32 people and dozens more are missing, and state officials are blaming a, quote, faulty forecast, unquote, by the National Weather Service for failing to predict how much rain would fall. With Trump's approval, Elon's Doge fired 600 people from the NWS, leading to some field offices being no longer staffed around the clock, and major cutbacks on weather balloon launches, which are vital tools for gathering data for weather forecasts, because they map the winds and moisture. As climate change accelerates and the frequency of extreme weather events rises, more and more innocent Americans will be paying a deadly price for Trump and Elon's reckless, incomprehensible dismantlement of the system which kept us all safe. Okay, and like I said, they want to destroy it so they can then turn around and put it back together and say, see, we fixed it. It works better now. No, that's what they're doing, okay? It's like, you know, it's like breaking somebody's model and you glue it back together and say, oh, it's better than it was before, you know? Yeah. Okay, Palestinian newlywed reveals shocking conditions after a 140-day stay in ICE concentration camp. Ward Sakik, 22 years old, is a stateless Palestinian woman married to a U.S. citizen. She was detained in February after returning to the U.S. from a trip from the Virgin Islands and was shuttled around to multiple ICE concentration camps. Quote, the entire detention process was not great. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. It was very hard, very traumatizing, and very difficult, is what I would say, unquote, said Sakik at a press conference. She described how she was handcuffed and given no food or water for 16 hours after being arrested and was denied phone access for long periods of time. Department of Homeland Security dismissed her claims as a, quote, unquote, sob story. Listen to these fuckers. But there have been so many similar claims of appalling treatment by ICE goons that it's pretty clear who's telling the truth here. Yeah. Well, you got to remember who's involved in our government. It's Trump people. And these fucking people are all just like him. Okay? The professionalism is out the fucking window. They don't care. They think what they're doing is right because Trump says so. Jewish Republican congressman says Trump's use of anti-Semitic slur doesn't bother him. Quote, I was not offended, unquote. Welcome to Trump's America, where calling for an end to the massacre of Palestinian children is considered anti-Semitism, but literally saying anti-Semitic slurs is not. Okay. New York Times grants race science enthusiast an anonymity in Mamdani hit piece. The New York Times inexplicably published a story that cited hacked documents at Columbia University showing that New York Democratic mayoral nominee Zoran Mamdani, identified as, quote, black or African American, unquote, on his college application. Mamdani is of South Asian descent, but was born and grew up in Uganda, where his family has lived for over 100 years. Perhaps he did identify as an African as a teenager, whatever. This is an absolute nothing burger of a story that the Times nevertheless turned into a huge hit piece, using documents obtained illegally by a eugenicist, white supremacist, Jordan Lasker, who goes by, quote, Cremo, unquote, on Twitter. You may recall last year when hackers obtained a dossier on J.D. Vance written by the Trump team. The New York Times refused to publish it, but somehow this is okay because anything to stop a Democrat socialist from being given a chance to improve people's lives. The hypocrisy is stunning, and the Times has a lot of apologizing to do. Okay, there's a search for some girls that were swept away at summer camp in the Texas flood. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he's a boxer. He got arrested by U.S. immigration. Let me see here. They have arrested a famed Mexican boxer, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who's 39 years old, and plans to deport him to Mexico, where he has, quote, an active arrest warrant for his involvement in organized crime, U.S. officials announced on Thursday. Okay, well, you know, in this day and age, I think they owe somebody a look at it to see if it's true or not, okay? Because too many times people are being arrested and deported, claiming they're criminals, they got a bad record, and they don't show it to us because they're denied. These people are denied due process. Okay, I mean, they could arrest somebody and say they're from Mars, and that's it, the end. You're not gonna, you know, and just say, okay, you got to leave, go back to Mars because you're a Martian, you're a criminal. Okay, it's like, okay, well, when you got no due process, why even bother making an excuse for why you got to arrest him, right? Because you're not going to prove it anyway. So you might as well just say, I'm just taking this guy, and you people just shut up about it, okay? You don't need to know. I mean, doesn't that make more sense? I mean, if they're going to make up something, I mean, I'm not saying that this ain't true, but I'm just saying we've been lied to so much in the last 6 months here under Trump that, you know, why should we believe it is true? Okay? Why should we believe it's true? We've got no reason to trust anybody that makes a statement like that saying, oh, this guy, he's got an arrest warrant in Mexico, he's got to go back. You know, okay. I'm sorry, but you guys' credibility, it's shot to pieces already. You've lied so fucking much now, we don't believe a thing you say. That same goes for Trump, and anybody that works with Trump is in the same boat right now with him. They say he's affiliated with the notorious Mexican Sinaloa drug cartel. His lawyer denied those claims. Quote, under President Trump, no one is above the law, including world-famous athletes, unquote. A spokeswoman for the DHS said in a statement following his arrest. Now, that's nice. So, yeah. His lawyer says it ain't true. And of course he's up against the huge machine of the Trump organization. We know who's going to win that fight. Okay, so again, it goes back into question. If we had due process anymore in this country, he would go to court They would argue this case. We would see the evidence, and then we'd make our decision accordingly. We wouldn't just grab people off the street and deport them like that. That's not right. Measles cases are surging to record high since disease was declared eliminated in the U.S. So RFK's, he ain't doing his fucking job, right? Okay? Yeah, well, people are dying from a disease we thought we had under control because nobody believes it exists. We shouldn't be vaccinating on it, you know, anymore. Jesus. Let's see. Falling childhood vaccine coverage and a large smoldering outbreak that was kindled in an under-vaccinated pocket of West Texas have driven the United States to a troubling new milestone. There have been more measles cases in the U.S. this year than, any other since the disease was declared eliminated a quarter century ago. There have been at least 1,277 confirmed cases of measles reported in the U.S. in 2025. Just this fucking year. This 6 months already. Jesus Christ. According to data from the Johns Hopkins University Center for Outbreak Response Innovation. Just halfway through the year, the case tally has already surpassed the last record from 2019, when there were a total of 1,274 cases. Experts say this year's cases are likely to be severely undercounted because many are going unreported. 3 people have died from measles this year. 2 children in Texas and 1 adult in New Mexico, all of whom were unvaccinated, matching the total number of U.S. measles deaths from the previous 2.5 decades. Measles was declared eliminated in the U.S. in 2000, meaning there has not been continuous transmission for more than a year at a time. Reaching this status was, quote, a historic public health achievement, unquote. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, possible in large part because of vaccine development, the measles, mumps, rubella, MMR, vaccine that is mostly common, used first, became widely available in the U.S. in the 1970s. Before this year, there have been an average of about 180 measles cases reported each year since the disease was declared eliminated, according to CDC data. In 2019, large outbreaks in New York threatened elimination status. Those outbreaks were concentrated in Orthodox Jewish communities in Brooklyn and Rockland County that had been targeted with anti-vaccine disinformation for years. This year, the vast majority of measles cases have been in Texas, with more than 750 confirmed cases associated with one outbreak that started in late January. If cases associated with that outbreak continue to accumulate through January of next year, the U.S. could lose its measles elimination status. Most of those cases, more than 400 since the start of the year, have been in Gaines County, according to the state health department, where vaccination rates are well below the recommended level. In the 2024-25 school year, nearly 1 in 4 kindergartners in Gaines County did not have their required MMR vaccine, one of the worst rates in the state. Dozens of cases in New Mexico and Oklahoma have also been linked to the West Texas outbreak, and cases reported in Kansas may also be connected. Special vaccination clinics that have been stood up in response to the outbreak have led to additional coverage for thousands of people. Many of the affected counties have also introduced expanded vaccination guidance, allowing infants to get their first shot as early as 6 months old instead of waiting until the first year. In New Mexico, nearly twice as many MMR vaccines have been administered this year than there were at this point last year, according to data from the state health department. And a recent analysis of health records by Truveta, a healthcare data and analytics company, shows that early vaccination rates jumped among infants in Texas. MMR vaccination rates among 6-month-olds in Texas this year are more than 8 times higher than they were in 2019. And in March and April, about 1 in 5 children who received their first measles shot in Texas had gotten it early before their first birthday. But as the pace of new cases associated with the West Texas outbreak has slowed, cases have continued to accumulate across the country. There have been at least 27 total outbreaks defined as 3 or more related cases, and at least 38 states have reported at least 1 case this year. Cases rose quickly in Colorado last month when an out-of-state traveler flew while infectious, leading to multiple cases among passengers on the same plane and others among people who were in the airport at the same time, and broader community spread from those cases. Other cases among Colorado residents were linked to travel to Chihuahua, Mexico, where there is also a large outbreak concentrated among the local Mennonite population. There is another large outbreak happening in Ontario, Canada, which was linked to multiple cases in Michigan. At least 1 person has died from measles this year in Canada, and there have been 9 deaths in Mexico. So, yeah, this is what happens when you allow people who want to shit on vaccines to get their way. People die. People die. So anyway, that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the weekend. Subscribe, comment, and share, and keep your ears open for health-related issues. And you know, stick close with your neighborhood. Get involved, you know, with people that need help. Don't ignore charities. You know, they pop up when you go to the register sometime, but they're not asking for a lot. Sometimes $1, you know, or $5 or something. And if you can swing it, I ask you to donate when you can. Okay, I'm not gonna judge you if you don't donate, but if you can, you know, if you can spare it, you know, it's always good. It's good karma, you know. So yeah, so take care, everybody, and I will talk to you guys later. So take care.